Carrie Genzel here. So, my advice is don't go out there.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast. Just want to thank all of our fans and listeners. Really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network. So there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We hope you enjoy the episode.
You know that I've said that the song Black Velvet is playing at every karaoke bar in America being sung by some divorced woman somewhere. I know the movie's named Blue Velvet, but it made me keep singing that Black Velvet song that every single woman over the age of 35 gets up and sings at the bar. Sorry, go ahead.
Black Velvet. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of karaoke, let's get into the film review. We're continuing on with Thriller Month, and it is Brother Dustin's pick. Dustin, you want to announce your pick and why you picked it?
You gonna do me like that and make Brian have to leave that in so people know the context? All right. I picked Blue Velvet, 1986. I said it at the end of last week's episode that, with David Lynch's recent passing and just the incredible amount of people, celebrities who have this movie in their top 4 on Letterboxd when they do those red carpet interviews. I'd never seen it, and I thought, what better time than now, because I want to see what the hype's about. And also, it's a good time for us to review a David Lynch movie with his recent passing. So I liked it, man. I liked it a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. I went into it not expecting to like it. I thought it was going to be one of those movies that's like, yeah, everybody likes it. It's a good movie, but I just don't care for it. Like Bridge on the River Kwai. I watched that movie and I was like, God, this is like pulling teeth. This movie was awesome. I was captivated the whole time. Like it kept me engaged and wondering what was going to happen next. Now, I have issues with it that I'll get into, but overall, I thought it was really good.
All right, I'll go next. R.I.P. to Mr. David Lynch. I am glad we reviewed one of his movies, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I want to apologize to listener of the show who commented on Instagram, @_clap, who said this was one of his favorite movies overall and favorite David Lynch movie. My brother...
Hang on, what was that ad again? I think my headphones cut out.
His name is @_clap. I mean, why he chose
First
it.
of all, I appreciate you listening to the show. Second of all, great handle name. Great job.
Yeah, it's a good name. I'm sorry, brother. I'm not a fan of this movie. I really don't have much redeeming things to say about it at all. So I'm just going to apologize to any David Lynch or Blue Velvet fans up front. I'm going to be respectful, but I'm going to be honest. Not a fan.
Well, duh. Nico hates the 80s. Go ahead.
Well, to put it bluntly, I'm right there with you, Nico. The movie's not for me. I know David Lynch is known for his satire, and I took this as satire, whether it was supposed to be or not. I don't really know. But I gave him the benefit of the doubt in that regard. But in this case, neither the cinematography, easy for me to say, or even the score were enough to divert from, pretty awful dialogue, in my opinion, and pretty bloated runtime. And, God rest his soul, like you said, but David Lynch had to have some mental issues or something with some of the shit in here and his other movies for that matter. And, I'm sure for the time that this was revolutionary, for the independent cinema, but The story just isn't interesting to me. I don't care about the characters. I mean, and trust me, I know this is highly regarded. And when we get to the scores, Dustin will show y'all that. So I'm apparently in the minority, but call me Jon Snow. Well, I guess not Jon Snow anymore now that Nico's on there, but it's just not for me.
Before you go, Mike, Brian, you mentioned the quote unquote bloated runtime. Well, if you thought this movie was long, the original cut was over 4 hours long.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And he cut it down. Over 50 minutes of deleted scenes can be found on the Blu-ray. So be sure to seek that out.
Nico, Jesus Christ.
Is it the first ever 2-disc Blu-ray?
Yeah, like the Pearl Harbor VHS or
The
Titanic
old
VHS. Those
Titanic,
two
yeah,
tapes.
buddy. Pearl Harbor and Titanic, both, man. Those are banger movies. Don't let Dustin fool you. He likes the
Facts.
movie Titanic. He told me. I have
I
text proof.
do. I don't know. I've never disputed that. I like it.
Anyway, I was trying to hype you up, man, because we're going to be tag team partners in this, brother. We are in a tag match playa, okay? Like Friday Night SmackDown under Teddy Long. Listen, there are parts of this movie that I don't like, okay? And there is a little bit of, and this just comes with the territory unless it's just like a superb classic. There's a little bit of like 80s camp in here, and it's probably unintentional, to be honest, I think. Although, seeing some other Lynch movies, maybe not. But again, I really like this story. I think it's a little bit ahead of its time. So that's why it's so well thought of, is if you put this movie and remade it, maybe, and you saw that one for the first time, maybe you'd like it a little more because they'd modernize it and change a couple things, and maybe there'd be a little bit more redeemability there for people. But for me, I thought it was a great story. I think the cast was perfectly picked, honestly. Now, again, I have some problems with it, but the music is great. It has one of the better soundtracks that I can remember as far as for a tone of a film, right? Like, not every song is fantastic, but I mean, every song matches the tone that they're going for, and I think that works really, really great. David Hopper is a fucking maniac in this movie, a psycho, and actually absolutely fucking hilarious. Whether that was intentional or unintentional, I don't know. So I think the subject matter is dark. I'm surprised, as much as Brian loves A24 movies, I'm really surprised he didn't really like the weirdness of this and the twisted writing. I'm really shocked by that. That caught me off guard, but that's okay because we're in a tag team match, playa, and my tag team partner is 6'5". You shrimps, let's go.
Now, no cap,
Fight him.
Mike.
That's
what
not
you
a
said,
timeout, brother.
What you said there about Brian is exactly actually how I feel about Nico. I honestly expected Nico to have my back on this one, but then again, it was made in 1986, so I get it.
Honestly, Brian's been
This
hating
guy.
some 80s movies lately too, brother. I'm just saying.
I know. And then
Looking a
also
little
you
dicey.
mentioned how Dennis Hopper was a psychopath in this movie. The thing about it is, several actors turned down the role because they found it repulsive. But he said, I've got to play Frank because I am Frank,
Oh no.
which is scary.
Oh no.
That's crazy.
Oh no.
All right. You guys ready to get into this shit?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. We open up to, admittedly, an earworm as Blue Velvet plays while we see images of the beautiful town of Lumberton, North Carolina. We zoom in on some guy named Tom Beaumont who tends to his yard when he suddenly suffers what appears to be a heart attack or a stroke. This is definitely how I'm going out to, by the way, laying on the ground while my kids and dog just fucking ignore me. But when we zoom in to the grass and focus on a beetle, like really focus in, we start to follow Tom's son, Jeffrey, who has returned home from college, throws a rock, and then visits his dad in the hospital, where his father cries, unable to speak. Jeffrey decides he's in a rock-throwing mood, so he returns to the original rock-throwing location, a vacant lot where he finds a decomposing ear. He places it in a paper bag and takes it to Detective John Williams of the Lumberton Police Department. Oh, not the famous composer. That John Williams would have no use for a cut-off ear. The coroner examines the ear and determines that the owner could still be alive and that it was cut off with scissors. And we cut to the search of the field the ear was found in. And Jeffrey observes. Later that night, my man is all dressed up with nowhere to go. So he tells Happy Gilmore's grandmother and his mother that he's just going for a walk. In his dress shoes, by the way. He can't get that damn ear out of his head, so he stops by the Williams house to ask about the case, to no prevail. He can't tell him shit about the case, you goober. When leaving, Jeffrey runs into the detective's daughter, Sandy, who is still a senior in high school, studying, to make her way to Jurassic Park later in life. And she's just fucking lurking in the shadows, by the way. She tells him that she has overheard details about a singer somehow related to the severed ear and shows Jeffrey to the apartment building where the singer lived, located on Lincoln Street, where Jeffrey's Aunt Barbara warned him not to go. And honestly, I thought she was telling Jeffrey not to take the Lincoln, as in the car. So what do I know? They turn back and Jeffrey catches up on his old hometown. Jeffrey picks up Sandy from school the next day, taking her to Arlene's Diner. There, he discusses with her his plan to get into the singer's apartment, posing as pest control worker, and her as a Jehovah's Witness. Let's also talk about the fact that he's at least 21, maybe 22. His DL says he was born in 63, so whatever that math works out to. And she's 17, so just throwing that out there, too. Go ahead.
It's a different time.
Man, rock throwing mood. That got me, Brian. I actually wrote about him throwing rocks too, so that's pretty funny. All right, good review talk here, but the blue velvet background while the opening credits roll, I thought it was beautiful. So nice visual to start off. No disrespect to Bobby Vinton, but this song Blue Velvet sucks by him. I'm sorry. Lana Del Rey does it much better. Shout out to her. I like Lana Del Rey. Pop's getting his ass kicked by a water hose. And what happened to him that knocks him over? The spigot launched off or something? There ain't no way that hose got tangled like that either and kept on shooting water. Like, give me a break. Like, you think I'm dumb, movie? Cool camera shot going through the grass, but what were the Beatles doing? Like, what was the point of this? Like, I didn't get that at all. Papa Beaumont is in some type of contraption, like he fell off a roof or was in an accident. Give me a break, dude. Like, what happened to this guy? He looks like he... All right. I guess he did get hurt worse than I thought. Jeffrey proving there wasn't shit to do in the 80s, chunking rocks at a glass bottle across the field. My God, I guess he wasn't a rock throwing mood. What type of person picks up an ear with no gloves and puts it in a bag? No big deal. This man is a freak. He's a serial killer in the works. I can see it already. Pretty scary. The ear could have been removed from a person still alive. Like, you know how bad that would hurt? Like, just getting hit in the ear, it hurts so bad anyways. Miss Beaumont here, portrayed by Priscilla Pointer, is almost 101 years old as of this recording. I was surprised she was still alive, to be honest. She was born May 18th, 1924. Odd to me, a kid who finds a random ear is so invested he feels the need to go to the detective's house to inquire more on it. This must be a small town where everyone knows each other, and they're cool with them just randomly popping up. Hey, man, so about that ear. Sandy, Randy Orton's this movie, and Jeffrey out of nowhere with a line that cracked my ass up. So you the one who found the ear? Like, all right, yeah. Yeah. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I had to pause. I was laughing pretty hard. These guys in the car passing by Sandy don't respect or fear Jeffrey at all. Man pulled up from half court while another dude was right by her, drove by and said, "What's up, baby?" It's like he didn't give no fucks about that guy. What was the point of this menacing score while the camera froze on that Lincoln Street sign? Like, I didn't get that at all. And then Sandy tells her girlfriend not to tell her boyfriend she's hanging with Jeffrey. It's not what it looks like. Yeah, all right. We know what that means, girl. Jeffrey with a hell of a plan. Seriously, why would someone let the bug man in their apartment without scheduling it themselves? Having the, apartment people say the bug people are coming. Like, who's going to just let some random person in? I don't know. Lackluster opening set of scenes for me so far. Go ahead, Mike.
Hang on before you go, Mike, because I will forget, because that's what I tend to do. So zooming in on the Lincoln Street sign, apparently David Lynch sneaks Lincoln references in all his movies and all his projects. Like, there's Lincoln, there's Frank's last name is Booth, a nod to John Wilkes Booth. And there was another one, but yeah, it is interesting.
I agree with you, Nico. I love this opening score, and credit scene. It makes it feel like a really old Hollywood movie, like one of those, golden age of Hollywood movies. I really liked it. And, it almost, Brian will get this reference. It kind of starts out like a Tony Storm promo from like a year ago. That's how it plays. And man, I disagree. Blue Velvet's a great song. Bobby Vinton's version is totally fine. I like it. It's an old throwback, and I have my only fun fact ever apparently on this show, but I actually have a fun fact about Blue Velvet later, the song, and how many times it's been recorded and published by different artists. It's one of the most recorded songs of all time, like Hallelujah, Let It Be, things like, or not Yesterday by the Beatles. Anyway, old people doing yard work's only going to end one of two ways, guys. It's like this, or you're going to be a little granny planting flowers. That's it. There's only two ways to be an old person in a yard. So just be aware if you're Brian's age and you're in a yard doing something. So that's going to be bad. Someone that really fucking hates ears. Of course, that's what's rotting in the grass there, man. Like, God, I hate the insides of ears, and we get this shot a couple times in the movie. I find them disgusting. Also, man just picked up an ear, like Nico said. Brought that shit down to the station. Like, I know it's the 80s, but damn, even then I would think it would be contaminating a potential crime scene. Oh, here's that ear I found. Get the fuck out of here, man. Again, so he brings the detective evidence, and he goes to his house, and he can't tell him anything. Like, I don't know. All this shit flies in the 80s. Why are we being so covert about this? It's the fucking 80s, man. Anyway, the fact that these two are playing, and honestly, I don't know her age, but the fact that these two are playing a high schooler and one guy that's coming back home from college, these fuckers look old, man. Like, even for their time.
Laura Dern was 19.
Okay, so she looks around 19. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. My man, Kyle MacLachlan does not look like a fucking college kid. Jesus Christ. Okay. Anyway, I would never go to any street named Lincoln Street, Lincoln Avenue. Not where I'm from, brother. That is the wrong part of town. That's over there where you do not go to Lincoln. If you're listening and you're from my hometown, you know what I'm talking about. The tongue comment he makes, again, just more psychopathic behavior. So weird. Like telling her about the tongue kid. All right, it's okay. High school looked a lot more fun back then, and I had a blast in high school. I'm not gonna lie, but that looked like it was kind of the shit, man. That'd be kind of fun. Like, it doesn't like a whole lot of worries. I will say I laughed audibly when I saw the name of the school was Central High. No thought put into the name of the school whatsoever. Just Central High.
Hey,
I loved it.
There's a Central in Knoxville. There's a Central High School in Knoxville.
There's a lot of Central High schools. That's what makes it funny. It's like, it's so bland and generic. I don't know. I will be honest. This scene at the diner would be a massive red flag if I were her. Right? Like, him wanting to break into this house as an or wanting to break his way into this house, as an exterminator. I had to pretend to be a Jehovah's Witness. Like, all right, but because he's a moderately good-looking guy in the 80s, yeah, let's go ahead and listen to everything that he says. Sure, whatever. Last thing, I love movies that kind of let you know it's going to be creepy by the open, but make us uncomfortable in the beginning by putting us in the middle of white picket fence America. Like, this town in North Carolina just exudes that, like, perfect family, perfect version of America that people have seen in movies for decades now. So I really like that we're about to kind of switch gears on that completely. Baby wants to fuck. Oh, sorry. Spoiler.
Yeah. Great score for the opening credits, set to a beautiful and appropriate Blue Velvet backdrop. And the score there, the song, it just sounds like a love thriller. So I think it's perfect for the tone of the movie. I think we get an almost death right after. Buddy just stroked out while watering his lawn. That's a tough way to go. Luckily, he didn't die. The imagery and sounds with the Beatles. That was interesting. So one of my major qualms with the movie is these like scenes like that. There's a couple of them, not necessarily Beatles, but the scene transitions are kind of interesting choices throughout. Now, the Beatles comes back into play at the end of the movie. So I'm going to jump ahead because I don't have it in my notes and I will forget. But, at the end of the movie, we see the Robin eating the beetle, which Sandy told Jeffrey her dream about the robins and all that. And the Robin eating the beetle was supposed to signify love conquering the evil. So, okay, I guess. It was unnecessary, though. It didn't add anything. It was just kind of unnecessary. And also that Robin that we see at the end of the movie, David Lynch claims that it was a real Robin, but it looked fake. But I read about it, he claims it's real. And then someone apparently in the production crew leaked that it was a real Robin, but it was dead. They found it. So they had it rigged up. So that's why it looked like it did. Anyway.
Jesus.
Yeah. Finding a dead Robin, that had to be a bad omen. I don't know. Moving along. So when Jeffrey is throwing rocks before he finds the severed ear, we get a Sundrop bottle sighting. Shout out to Sundrop, underrated soda. Love that. Um, I don't know if I'd be picking that ear up though, especially not with my bare hand. Nasty. It looked great though, solid prop. And as far as what you said, Nico, about like, yeah, I'm investing in this ear, so I'm gonna take it. Why wouldn't you take it? The detective's his neighbor. He lives like a street over. Why wouldn't he take it to the detective? Come on, forgive that. Um, Not the best acting from Detective Williams. I do think a lot of the movie was cast really well, but Detective Williams was honestly pretty awful. He only had a couple of lines here in this set of scenes, and they were delivered horribly, with all due respect. And then I guess Jeffrey turns out is Happy Gilmore's cousin, as his aunt is Happy's grandma. That's cool. I guess she moved up to Waterbury after this movie. When Jeffrey goes to Detective Williams' house here, yep, my earlier assessment was right, just bad acting. It felt like the kind of detective acting that I'd see on The Rockford Files or Hunter reruns with my dad. Wild disrespectful of Buddy in the car to catcall Sandy while Jeffrey's walking with her. Jeffrey should have swung on him out of principle. Then again, after seeing him chicken walk, it's probably best for his sake that he didn't swing on the guy, because what was that? Yeah, honestly, his plan here is not the worst plan I've heard, but going from turning in an ear to the detective, being a good citizen there, jumping straight to B&E, that's quite the leap. I don't know, but the open has me interested so far.
Yeah, you're right. That was awful. That was part of what I said was bad dialogue, was pretty much him.
Yeah.
We open up with this duo pulling up to the singer's apartment building, who we learn is named Dorothy Valens. Jeffrey makes his way up to her apartment, where he sprays from a bug spraying rig and steals a key when the singer left to answer the door. The person at the door? Well, that's a man in a yellow suit, and it's not Dick Tracy. Upon leaving and returning to the car, Jeffrey informs Sandy that he's going back, guilt-tripping Sandy into canceling her date that evening with Mike, and the two continue their investigation at the Slow Club, where Valens sings what else but Blue Velvet. After the performance, they make their way to her apartment again so that Jeffrey can sneak in. They agree to have Sandy warn him of her arrival by honking the horn 4 times. But that proves to be bullshit, as Jeffrey doesn't hear shit because he's in there just lollygagging around and taking a piss. Well, upon realizing old girl's coming home, he hides in the closet, watching as Dorothy takes a call from Frank, who allows her to speak to her husband, and she asks about the well-being of her son. Well, Jeffrey makes some noise, and Dorothy notices him. But she is fucking horny, apparently, because this dude in her closet that she had just met, she holds at knife point and gives him a beej. She takes him to the couch, but there's a little knock-knock at the door, and Jeffrey, now in his skivvies with a limp dick, we see swinging going back to the closet. Enter Frank, who I guess was calling her from a cell phone in the 80s, because didn't she just get off the phone with him? But, well, he's drinking and huffing some gas and tells her to sit on the chair in front of him and spread those legs and show it to him. That means her vagina. Go ahead.
Oh, I gotta follow this guy tonight. All right. I don't know why, but huffing that gas just sent me a little bit. All right. Is this accurate? Legitimately asking. But did apartment complexes used to advertise who lived there and in what room? To me, that sounds sketchy. I mean, what if it's a star? Like they're gonna have people all over that place. Also,
There's a lot of apartment buildings, I think, in big cities that do that now, even
wow,
today.
I would not be cool with that. But anywho, also Jeffrey, you should have went back to Sandy to tell her about the elevator, right? He said 3 minutes. Walking up 7 flights of stairs, I mean, that takes a little bit of time, doesn't it? And that's convenient. A spare key hanging in the kitchen in broad view, and somehow Dorothy doesn't even notice it's missing. All right. And what tone is this movie trying to create? We had a menacing score earlier now, but now it sounds like everybody loves Raymond as the two leave the apartment. Like it sounds like a sitcom. Like, what are we doing? Sandy is ready to jump Jeffrey's bones. A loyal girlfriend wouldn't keep bringing up to another man how much she loves her boyfriend. I've never done anything like this before, head-ass girl. Question, how old are these kids, though? In 1986, the drinking age was 21 due to a 1984 act. Didn't Jeff pick her up from high school? Like, how is she drinking Heineken right now? What is going on?
Uh-huh.
What kind of line is it to say that's for me to know and you to find out when asked if you're a detective or a pervert? And why is this girl still hanging around this guy? I don't understand this. She must be
Yeah.
she must be down bad for this guy. Serious question again. Would you be able to hear a car horn 7 stories up inside of a building? To me, that's just not a good plan from the start. Dorothy goes to the bathroom. Now is the time you sneak out, Jeff, but you're proving you're a pervert and not a detective right now. Miss Dorothy on some freak shit, though, making the home invader strip and now performing fellatio and touching him. The hell is going on right now? All right, this is the last thing I got, Mike. Frank marches in, making orders to Dorothy, demanding her to spread her legs. All I'm thinking is this movie is making no sense and it's kind of weird. Go ahead.
It's definitely weird. Okay. First of all, you mentioned the apartment complex. Deep River Apartments is where was Lynch getting the name for these things? Anyway, you know, my man Jeffrey didn't even get her name the first time. That would have been important. Had to re-ask her her name. That's tough. But loves her by the end of the movie. Anywho, by the way, in 2025, with the benefit of hindsight, this man's plan fucking sucks. Okay? Because you would never be able to make it into someone's house just because the pest control showed up. Nah, not without some warning, not without being there before. I got to know. Most apartment complexes send some email out, et cetera, et cetera. So,
They didn't have email in 1986.
I know, brother. That's what I'm saying. That's why it sucks now, but didn't suck in 1986. Okay, which, by the way, was what 40 years ago. That's rough. Anyway, but he committed to the bit. I got to give Jeffrey a little credit here. He really went all out. Brought the bug sprayer, wore the fucking jumpsuit. I mean, he was whole ass Dale Gribble in this fucking apartment complex, man. Shout out to Jeffrey for that. And again, I love when he asked, "Do you have a date?" She answered honestly, "Yes, I do." Well, goddamn, that would have been the stop for her. Should have been, but as Nico has already pointed out, don't lie to Mike. I'll just tell him I'm sick. Oh, you bitch. Of course you would. These hoes ain't loyal, man. What the fuck? Oh, Mike, I'm sick. Yeah, you don't love Mike. Hey, remember, I love Mike. No, you don't. Fuck you. Damn it. Had to be a guy named Mike, of course. And we talked about this in the group chat, but Heineken's are ass. That is an assy beer. I will never drink one on my own doing again. They suck. And later on in the movie, it's the only good thing Frank says and does when he talks about drinking PBR. Hell yeah, brother. That's the best concert beer in the world. You get a tall boy for about $4. That's good stuff.
How much you think Heineken paid to sponsor this movie?
Back then, I have no idea. It may have been beans, man. Like, hey, yeah, we'll put you in our little independent movie that we could barely get made. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, first off, the girl's right. This is absolutely creepy. But, like, you can't, she went along for the whole thing. Loved the date they went on. Had a great time. Watched our girl sing Blue Velvet. Had some shitty Heinekens. And then wanted to dip. Oh, you'll get free dinner and go? Fuck you. You're going to stay, and you're going to be involved in this plot with me, okay? Because I didn't pay for your illegal beer, and I didn't pay for you to eat and watch this show so you could just fucking dip at the last second. No, man, I need you to stay. That's fucked up. Anyway, again, not loyal, and also brings up her boyfriend, Mike. I don't know about her, man. I mean, he's creepy and weird, and we'll touch on that later, but yeah. Now, again, this is where it does turn up the tension volume a little bit from the lounge until now when we're in the apartment again. Things have certainly picked up. This dumbass, the first thing he does is take a fucking piss, man. Like, if you had to pee, you could have peed outside. You could have done something else. Really, what a fucking idiot. A lot of his wounds are self-inflicted, in my opinion, and I'll explain that a little bit more later. Now, I will say, this scene feels so invasive. Right. But I'm not as uncomfortable as I was watching like Nightcrawler, when we did that movie. But it's a little bit back. Right. I mean, again, I'm taking it, obviously, I think a little more serious than even what Nico said. Right. I mean, it's still invasive and it still feels really odd and creepy and I don't like it. But who gets caught in the closet? I mean, even fucking Jim and Stifler almost didn't get caught in the closet in American Pie 2, man. That's, come on. They only got caught because Finch's sorry ass ran in the closet and made a bunch of noise, asshole. But this man gets caught, right? What a loser. Anyway, I love how this turns, and she's completely starting to take advantage of him here. I don't know what I expected out of this scene, but it was not this. I would be so worried with a fucking filleting knife that close to my cock and balls. Okay. I want that. I don't care how hot you are, how persuasive you are. You better get that knife the fuck away from me. I will say, and this is kind of my last thing. You know, Frank's obviously a fucking creep, and we're about to really dive into that. But there's clearly, so I took this as, and again, I know we've kind of played at it for laughs, and that's fine. We do that on this show. You have to with the dark stuff. I took it as she's so, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the Beauty and the Beast thing everyone talks about, where like she's so used to this kind of violence that this is something that she just thinks this is what love is, this is what sex is, this is what turns every guy on, this is what she's used to. So really, she's a really apparent victim in all of this as well. I think she just thinks this is what you do to men to get them to leave me alone more than anything. He ends up being kind of a nice guy to her, which he's a fucking weirdo too, but that's not the point. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so much for the plan not leaving the diner. Sandy folded like origami. She didn't put up a fight at all. She's like, okay, let's do it. This apartment building is so dark inside. It's very creepy. It adds to the tension. I thought that was well done. I laughed when the guy knocked on her door and Dorothy said Grand Central Station. That's a great line. She's like, God, everybody's coming today. That was funny to me. Also, shout out to Isabella Rossellini. She was fantastic in Conclave last year. And then what kind of bar is this? She's in high school. The National Minimum Drinking Age Act went into effect in 1984, meaning it was 21 and up. A couple years before that, they probably could have got away with it because it was kind of subjective. They're like, yeah, we'll serve you. No, we won't. But in 84, it's 21 and up. Tisk tisk, slow club. People may think it's weird if he picks her up at 8. Like, that's what she said. People think it's weird if you pick me up at 8. I'll meet you, blah, blah, blah. But it's okay to leave his car parked in front of her house overnight? Come on, man. Where's the logic there? I got a good laugh at Jeffrey having a piss once he got inside. Never mind the mission. Nature calls. And honestly, it gave a good and valid reason he didn't hear the horn honking. Like, it wasn't, Nico, you said, I'm not sure how valid of a plan that was because he's 7 floors up. That wasn't his plan, but it is a good, like, contingency. It's like, just in case, I'll honk the horn. And maybe he could hear it, maybe he couldn't. But the toilet flushing, perfect. And, you know, he had that baby bladder from drinking, had break seal. It's a very effective phone call that we hear. We didn't hear much from it, but what we did hear in her tone on the phone, that was great at letting us know that, you know, it's something we should raise an eyebrow about. When, be honest with you guys, when she makes him get naked while holding him at knife point, that's my kind of crazy. I think I'm in love.
Damn, Dustin said it moved.
I was like, I got a little hot under the collar. Then we meet Frank here, and yeah, this guy is no good. I'm liking the movie a lot so far.
Oh, really quick. You know, we kind of like touched on the kind of guy that Frank is. I know he's written very nuanced and a little bit mysterious, I guess. And I thought it's played really well, but how are we supposed to take him as a viewer? Like, he's kind of creepy and fucked up himself, but he's kind of a nice guy also. Like, he's like a lot of humans. I mean, not every human is like really nice, and then also BTK, which, you know, was also really nice to the outward world. So like, I'm just saying, like, as a viewer, it's not a negative for me of the movie at all. It's actually what I would consider like maybe like a thumbs in the middle a little bit, because I don't know how I'm supposed to ingest this character. Pause.
When I have a follow-up question for that. When was he nice? I don't think he has any redeeming qualities.
Oh, he's not. Well, I mean, he's nice to her here. I mean, and he's nice to her later too, I think.
He's nice to her?
Well,
Yeah,
hold
sexual
on.
assault.
I know. Hold on.
He R-words her and smacks her around.
Oh, wait, did I say
We can't say
Frank?
rape.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't mean
You're talking
Frank.
about Jeffrey?
Yes, I'm talking about Jeffrey, guys. Sorry.
Okay. That's so much,
Sorry,
makes so
took
much
me-
more sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense now, hopefully. Jeffrey, I don't know why I said Frank, because Frank's a dumbass.
Okay.
Anyway, no, I meant Jeffrey. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Gotcha.
I think Jeffrey is just I think he's a curious pervert. Like, I think he has good intentions at heart. He wants
Sure.
to help crack this case wide open and do good for the community. But at the end of the day, his hormones are raging. So that's how I take him.
We are back, and it is sexual assault o'clock as Frank downs the rest of his whiskey and tells her not to fucking look at him, screaming that baby wants to fuck, while she tells him that mommy loves him and stuffs blue velvet into his mouth to cure this fetish he apparently has. Truthfully, I'm not even sure what else happened here. Like, it's very bizarre, but let's just say Frank leaves. Jeffrey leaves the closet and tries to comfort Dorothy. She requests him to hit her, but he refuses and leaves. The following night, Jeffrey fills in Sandy on the details of his visit after she picks him up in what, at first, I thought was his car, but upon subsequent rewatch, it is not. She then tells him of a dream she had where a world of darkness was finally given light by robins that represented love. Is everyone in this movie huffing that gas? Not real sure. But not much in this set of scenes, although this little bit that I just said did take up nearly 20 minutes of screen time. Go ahead, Nico.
Yeah, I really don't have that much either. But starting this set of scenes off with a super strange start. Frank hits the gas mask, drops the F-bomb repeatedly, looks into her vagina, calls her mommy, hits her, and she seems to like it. Like, I'm really confused what's going on. I get it, maybe there's some trauma going on, but kind of weird. Then Frank breaks out some scissors. I'm guessing he's the guy who cut that missing ear off. Alrighty. And I know this, I think everybody would agree with this, but I hate watching rape, sexual assault scenes in movies. They're uncomfortable, disgusting to see. I really don't think they serve much of a purpose. You can leave them off screen. And Frank, he just needs to be buried underneath the prison for what he's done, honestly. This is weird to me. Maybe it's a reaction after sexual assault, like we kind of talked about. But calling this random guy her missing husband's name, then asking if he likes her and has him touch her boob, this is, I don't know, very odd, but, might be a trauma response like we kind of talked about. Weird dream sequence with Jeffrey seeing his blurry, stretched out father's face. Frank and then Dorothy asking to hit her. So edgy, David. So edgy. Now, this really ticked me off. $22.95 for a new axe back in 1986. That seems pretty high, brother. $23 in 1986. That seems very high. That thing better last forever. This is the last thing I got, though. More and more as this movie goes on, I'm seeing Sandy belongs to the streets. Where is boyfriend Mike, and why is she doing him like this? Like, I'm very upset about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, this like weird like oxygen huff thing, which I don't know if that's ever really explained. I don't know if that's I don't know. Anyway, and then the mommy stuff, just some really weird, like sick A24 shit, if you ask me, brother. That's the only way I could describe it. And I don't mean that as a complete bad thing from a movie going standpoint as far as keeping my interest, because this is fucking weird, right? It's hard to take my eyes off of it, and not trying to kink shame, but god damn, this was sick, man. I mean, obviously it's sexual assault, clearly, which we've touched on. That goes without saying, but just a sick, weird fetish that this guy has. Like, I'm uncomfortable the whole time that this is taking place, especially because I don't think that Dorothy is like a bad woman, bad person. She obviously now we know a little bit of her backstory, or we do. So we find out a little bit more of her backstory, and it's uncomfortable stuff, and it's really uncomfortable because she, like I mentioned, and Brian, thank you for clarifying Stockholm syndrome. You're correct. She thinks that this is what love and sex is going to do for her, make the other man feel good, like it's just very sad. She's definitely a victim of this circumstance. But I would have a hard time if I were Jeffrey. I can't disagree, because I would have visions and PTSD and nightmares of this stuff too. It just so creepy and so unsettling, especially when you were right before that getting your pickle tickled, man. That's tough. We get a little bit of an expedition dump, which we get a lot in this movie, of what he thinks is going on, which is great because I was kind of confused myself. Last thing I have, this Dove stuff is not doing a whole lot for me. Like, it adds a little bit of levity and it comes back around in the end, but I don't know. It just felt like the car scene was just kind of to let us know a little bit more of the plot of the movie, which is crazy because the movie had 2 hours to explain the story. We didn't need a 8-minute car scene where they're talking to each other, but that's a nitpick because I still like the story, so it's okay.
There is more explanation in the 50 minutes of deleted scenes on the Blu-ray.
Brother, we're on the same team, but I'm going to pass on that. I'm going to pass.
All right. I'll watch it and report back. Anyway, yeah, Frank's got some issues, just some sick stuff here. This is one of the most uncomfortable scenes we've covered on this show. This is without a doubt the darkest chapter of Trapped in the Closet R. Kelly ever wrote. And Mike, you mentioned the gas. You're not sure what the gas is, but originally it was suggested that Frank would huff helium so that he had this really high-pitched voice after he did it to add some creepiness to his character, but they decided not to because they thought the audience would laugh, which they'd be correct. The theory is that he's huffing amyl nitrate, which is a substance known for producing a quick rush and euphoria, and it's often associated with increasing aggression and sexual intensity. So that would make a lot of sense. Like, that would check out. I know Jeffrey was wishing he never entered that apartment. From having a knife pulled on him to seeing what he saw to telling her to hit him or telling him to hit her. What an insane night. This is the kind of night that you tell your friends and they're like, no, that didn't happen. His little flashback scene / nightmare, that was wild too. That's one of those decisions that I don't really like because it's not really consistent with the rest of the movie. Yeah, there's multiple scenes that look like that, but it didn't add anything and it's not consistent with the entire movie. And I didn't care for it. I love everything about the guy who's buying the axe. Yes. Buying an axe like he's a wood chopper from way back. I love it. He's wearing a red flannel shirt like he's really about that life, like he's the brawny man. And he's smoking a pipe in a store. What a G.
Let's go.
That guy might be my favorite character in the whole movie. Yeah. Something I noticed, however, is that apparently Jeffrey is Wolverine. That cut on his cheek already healed up. Don't know if anyone else caught that, but it was not there here. Then in the car, relax, MLK. Jeffrey's traumatized and you want to tell him about your dream? Read the car, lady. What are you doing? Also, it is a different car, Brian. I know in your scene by scene break. What happened? It is a different car, though. I had to look up. Your scene by scene said appearance you think is the same car. I thought it was too, but I double checked. Jeffrey's car is a 73 Oldsmobile Delta 88. Sandy's is a 75 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. So there's that. But story's moving along nicely. Still like it.
All right. Later that same evening, Jeffrey goes back to Dorothy's apartment, where he and Dorothy apparently have the coitus. We then cut to the Slow Club, where Jeffrey is there drinking a Heineken, and notices that Frank is there as well, holding that piece of blue velvet that he cut from Dorothy's robe. He begins to tail Frank and accomplices, and we cut to the next day. Back at the high school, the football team is doing jumping jacks on the tennis courts, and Sandy's boyfriend Mike sees this scandalous hoe getting in the car with Jeffrey. Busted. Well, the two go to the diner, and he tells her about two of Frank's accomplices, the yellow man and the well-dressed man, not ZZ Top from what I can tell. He then says, fuck old Mike and Dorothy, and kisses Sandy, who clearly reciprocated it, but then tells him to stop. Well, I guess he got blue balls because we cut to Dorothy's apartment where Jeffrey shows up for some more booty. But during this sexual encounter, though, he gives into her requests to hit her. After the sex session, Jeffrey walks right out to the hallway where Frank waits. And this dude and his crew are unhinged. They are 6 deep in a Challenger, I believe, and they decide to see Ben, who is, quote, pussy. And then ask Jeffrey, has he ever been to pussy heaven? Okay. We cut to Ben's, who is played by Quantum Leap star Dean Stockwell, and he's just chilling on the couch with 3 fat broads and a frat dude eating waffles. Frank wants to give Jeffrey a beer, but upon hearing he likes Heineken, tells him, fuck that shit, Pabst Blue Ribbon. We learn that Ben possesses Dorothy's child, and they all cheers to, well, fucking. Dorothy is allowed to see her son Danny as we get to see Ben lip sync a song called In Dreams for Frank. After which, Frank is gathering up everyone for a joyride, screaming, let's fuck! And declaring that he will fuck anything that moves. And that concludes this set of scenes.
All right. Brian, why'd you go so hard in this one? All right, Jeffrey popping up to Dorothy's house unexpected. She must have put that thing on him, right? Jeffrey, though, is a fucking idiot. Why would you follow someone as demented like Frank to a mysterious location? Sandy gets caught leaving with another guy. Jeffrey has no awareness to keep driving. She sees her boyfriend walk away devastated, and she still leaves with Jeff. All I wrote was, in capital letters, the streets is where she belongs. Jeffrey lies about seeing something at Dorothy's apartment. Yeah, seeing her bounce that thing on you is the only thing you saw. You ain't seen nothing mysterious. Quit lying to me. I can't believe that story got Sandy fired up and wanting to kiss him. Wasn't she so worried about Mike and how he'd feel like a few minutes ago? My God, they did not portray Laura Dern as a faithful woman in this one. I'm not going to kink shame, but I do not understand why anyone gets pleasure out of getting smacked, hit, or hurt during sex. I'm not kink shaming. I just don't get it. I'm going to be honest with you. And I mean, I'm not against spanking a booty or something, but like punching and hitting, I'm not into that. Impressive how quick Dorothy came up with the lie defending Jeffrey. Coincidence? I think not. And ain't no way I'd go for a ride with Frank and his crew. I know he doesn't really have any option, but I know there's only trouble ahead with this. You ever been to Pussy Heaven? That's a real line of dialogue in this movie. Did Rob Zombie write this? I don't know. Good to see Brad Dourif, finally a bright spot in the film. Frank has his anger issues. Bro is snapping over warm beer. I mean, warm beer is gross, but damn, man, you need to calm down. Your blood pressure's got to be through the roof right now. No, I want you to fuck it. Talking about beer. My God, Brian, the dialogue. How atrocious is this? Not sure why they'd reveal in front of Jeffrey they're holding Dorothy's kid hostage unless they plan on killing him, which they don't. Ben breaks out into a karaoke session for well over a minute long, as if this bloated runtime needed this. Frank's character is so strange and his dialogue is awful. Still waiting to see what makes David Lynch's Blue Velvet so special. Go ahead.
Oh man, okay. My brother in Christ, Jeffrey. You know, you're really hard to be a sympathetic character here because you went back to the apartment, man. And, you know, she barely touched her pickle. I feel like you could have lived without that because, you know, Sandy was right around the corner, man. But nope, went back. And I love the little detail of the curtain moving too. I will say, Frank, like putting this piece of blue velvet by his mouth and rubbing it, just, fucking really great job by Hopper doing, you know, being the creepy guy. My man here has his Heineken bottle just empty, sitting up on the dash there, man. That's fucking, if that ain't 1986, I don't know what it is. They were getting away with anything. Justice for my man Mike, though. If I saw that, I would never talk to her again, man. Respect yourself. Have a little self-respect there, Mike. Again, we get a little bit more about, you know, the Yellow Man stuff, and it's again more exposition dump, but at least I kind of know what's going on now, so that's good. Jeffrey's out here double dipping. He is double dipping like a fucking DQ cone, man. That ain't good. I'm supposed to root for this guy. I don't know, just odd. And lip locking both of them in the same day. Wild behavior, wild. 1986, and by the way,
Who does he think he is? Laurie Grimes? Jesus, same day.
that's what I'm saying. Fucking, you know, no one can be Laurie Grimes but Laurie Grimes. Anyway, I will tell you, you know, as much as I don't like Sandy either, I have some thoughts on what happens to her as well, because she might be the softest of them all later in the movie. I will say this, calling me bad boy stuff, all this hitting stuff would also creep me out. Just not for me. Also, she uses the term, I have your disease in me now. No, thank you. Don't ever say that shit again. The old adage. We were just talking. Sure you were, pal. I've dated girls that said they were just talking before too. I know what that means. You don't have to tell me. I've been cheated on, stepped on, all that stuff. Frank also, he doesn't give tough guy vibes. So when he rolls up with his posse here, I would just laugh. Like, you guys don't look like tough, big, bad guys. I know you have weapons and shit, but I don't know. You like a car full of goons, if you ask me, especially after what I watched you do sexually. Like, it was creepy, but also you're kind of a little bitch. I wouldn't take you seriously. Fuck you. I would fill this whole car with fucking uppercuts. You hear me? If the whole car started calling me a pussy, it's on, dog. It's on. It's straight dick beaters. Throw them up. Let's dance, okay? I do, however, agree with Frank on the PBR stuff. Absolutely. Throw your Heineken away. Drink that past beer ribbon, buddy. That's what I'm talking about. Here's to your fuck, which I thought, you know, this is like the Limp Bizkit song, and Dustin knows what I'm talking about. How many times can we say fuck? I didn't get a fuck counter on Frank, but I wish I had, because that. Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad somebody did. I was hoping somebody did. My God, that's Brad motherfucking Dourif. Best part of the movie so far. Hell yeah, to the best share bracket there ever was. Who's with me? Who's with me? That's all I'm saying. This Roy Orbison song is also really eerie. The way it's used here in dreams, I believe. Really creepy. And last thing I have here, I feel awful for Dorothy in this scene. She just has to fucking stand there and take it. Doesn't really know how to defend herself and defend Jeffrey or anybody. It sucked. Go ahead, Dustin.
So when Jeffrey goes to see Dorothy sing Blue Velvet again, the cut is back on his cheek. Snip, snap, snip, snap. Make up your mind. What are we doing here? And then what kind of school is this? The football team is doing conditioning on the tennis courts. Look, if you don't have a football field, you don't need a team. That's just how it is. Then it's not enough for Jeffrey to ruin Sandy's relationship. Now he's got to kiss her in public. He must really hate Mike. I need to know what Mike did to him. With his knack for home wrecking and juggling two women and his affinity for solving mysteries, he might as well go ahead and become a cop. Then, did my eyes deceive me? Did he chip her tooth with a backhand? Jeez, bro, relax. Like there's a difference in a little rough coitus and assault. So relax. Then talk about tension when he walked out the door and Frank was there with his cronies. Really good stuff and unfortunate timing on his part. Right before that, he said, "I'm in the middle of a mystery," at the exact midway point of the movie. That's good writing. I like that. And then also when they're pulling up to Ben's, Frank says, "This is it." I don't know if you guys noticed that neon sign in the window that said, "This is it." That was funny too. Some major developments when they get to Ben's. Frank talked about pieces to Jeffrey's mystery right in front of him. So he's putting the pieces together, and then we find out that that's where Dorothy's kid is. That's really good stuff there. Interesting scene transition. Another one of those that didn't work for me. I didn't like. Frank goes from laughing, standing straight in front of us laughing, to just disappearing as we hear tires squeal. So some of the editing, I don't know, it didn't work for me, but I'm still liking the movie a lot.
Good thing you do, because we got 2 more scenes left. We open up cruising the highway at speeds that exceed 100 miles per hour, according to the speedometer. We see Frank back to huffing that gas again, starts in on Dorothy, who is in the front seat with him. Jeffrey has had a fucking enough and punches Frank from the back seat, and the gang takes him out of the car and beats the living shit out of him. Honestly, lucky that they didn't just kill him for whatever reason. He wakes up the next morning and walks back home. And I mean, they were driving 100 miles an hour, so I assume they were not driving straight, because that's a long-ass walk if so. He calls Sandy and tells her that he will leave her out of the rest of the investigation, but wants to tell her father. He visits the police station, but notices that Frank's accomplice, the one he named the Yellow Man, is actually Lieutenant T.R. Gordon. And so Jeffrey bails before being seen. Later that night, he goes and fills in Detective Williams on his findings, promising that Sandy had nothing to do with it. An undetermined amount of time later, Jeffrey is watering his yard, but thankfully doesn't have a heart attack because, trust me, nobody would do shit about it if he did. We cut to later that evening where he picks up Sandy for their planned date, where he sees Detective Gordon also at the house, but is warned by Sandy's dad to play it cool and not fuck anything up. The two are at a party, assumingly a high school party, where they seemingly express their love to each other on the dance floor as Mysteries of Love plays. The two leave the party, and the next set of scenes is the ending.
My first point, like this really ticked me off. Frank's dumbass asking Jeffrey what he's looking at. Bro is in the back seat. He has no option but to look forward. Like, what's he supposed to do? Sit backwards? Give me a break. I think we need to check the Diddy party list for Frank. Why is he kissing this man with lipstick all over himself? The hell is going on right now? What am I watching, Dustin? I know you didn't see this before. I'm just fucking with you. Laughing out loud at how bad the punches look and the sound effects sound. And why is old gal in the pink skirt dancing by herself in the distance? What is going on? I will say the punches look bad, but the makeup on Jeffrey of his damage and like his injuries, I thought those looked good. That awkward moment when you realize the guy involved with the crimes works at the police station. Yikes. No way if I'm Detective Williams, I'm letting my daughter hang out with Jeffrey. Sorry, this guy's a weirdo. Would be an awkward conversation, but if I'm Jeffrey, I got to tell Sandy Tom is one of the bad guys. And your pops has him in your house right now. I would precaution her. To quote Dolly Parton, the higher the hair, the closer to God. My goodness, these ladies had that big 80s hair going on, and I loved it. These two love each other. They've been hanging out occasionally for a couple of weeks. What is this? High school love is something else, isn't it? They'll probably get married and have 5 kids. Isn't it also kind of weird how passionately they're making out on a public dance floor? Am I a prude, or is this like a little bit excessive for the situation they're in? But
Nah,
to be
you're a prude.
honest, yeah, maybe. maybe. But to be honest, I'm ready to wrap this movie up. Let's go.
To repeat what I said in the last set of scenes, I'm beating all these guys' asses, bro. These guys don't scare me, man. These look like little bitches, if you ask me, and they're all talking shit. And my man is out here, my man Frank's a sick fuck. He's out here trying to get this happening in a car full of other people. What the fuck, man? And also, if I'm Jeffrey, hey man, don't fucking kiss me if I didn't ask to be kissed. God damn, man. All this lipstick and shit. Nah, no. What am I watching? Anyway, but I will say Dennis Hopper is actually fucking phenomenal in this scene. He plays Sick and Twisted so well. And he looks so unhinged this whole time. I think he does a great job. Now, we get this, we basically get Jeffrey's on this vigilante justice mission. Would not fly today. He's like those predator poacher people on YouTube that try to take down those bad guys without actually any police involvement. At least Jeffrey finally does go to the police, though. I will give him that. Again, I can't. This dad's a little suspect to Jeffrey here because he's got his baby girl in danger. I would be suspect too. And then my next question would be, hey, Sandy, the fuck happened to Mike? Mike was over here last week. Mike's gone now. What's going on with this? Anyway, we're all just forgetting about Mike except for us, I guess. Shout out to Justice for Mike. And, you kind of forget when you're watching a movie this old that they can't just talk all the time via cell phone or look at each other all the time via FaceTime and Snapchat. So when he said, hey, it's nice to see you. Yeah, it probably is. It's been a few days, hasn't it? You haven't talked or really seen each other in a few days. So you're catching up every time you go out on a date. That's wild. Back in my day and back in all of our days, you had to call that house phone. And when Dad picked up, that was not a good time. Not fun. Didn't like that. Super awkward. Anyway, last thing I have here, they fall in love in this dance floor, which there was like 20 pop songs about falling in love on the dance floor. So whatever the fuck. I will say this house party, which I assumed it was because it looked like a house they were coming out of. This house party looked lame as fuck, man. These 80s house parties had nothing on the 90s and 2000s except, was Uncle Buck early 90s or was it late 80s? Because that house party looked kind of rad when Buck shows up with the power drill. That's that shit. I can't remember if that's like 89 or whatever. But anyway, this house party looked like it fucking sucked. Nothing compared to American Pie and nothing compared to how the party looked in Y2K. Anyway.
Well, in the John Hughes movies, man, they partied like rock stars. Those are 80s.
Frank is unhinged. Look, I've heard people cuss in about every way imaginable, but the way he uses profanity is truly remarkable. He's funny. Like, aside from the bad things he does, of which there's plenty, he's funny. Bold move by Jeffrey to yell at Frank here, and even bolder move to punch him. Dude's armed, and you know what he's capable of. Very chaotic, intense scene after that. They pull him out of the car. Frank kisses him at knife point and smears lipstick all over his face, and then threatens to shoot him before beating him up. All while that woman of ill repute danced on top of the car. Just absolutely wild. Big eye opener when we see Gordon. The pieces are falling into place here. That scene was really well done, and it sets up the next scene perfectly. Jeffrey talking to Detective Williams. The wheels are turning. Things are coming together. But I don't like how Williams asked who else knows about these pictures. Like, is he in on this? Find out next week on Dragon Ball Z. Very tense when Jeffrey is picking up Sandy and Gordon shows up. But all I could wonder is, like you said, Mike, what happened to Mike? Like, we just forget that Sandy had a whole boyfriend like a week ago.
Yeah.
Also, he's back to being Wolverine. His black eye healed up real fast. Then Sandy's throwing out the L word. Don't walk. Run, Jeff. Definitely don't say it back. What are you doing? Aaron Rodgers' 2023 season lasted longer than y'all have been hanging out. What are you doing, dummy? But I'm ready and excited for the finish.
Dude, don't tell Jeff to run. He's the one banging 2 women.
Yeah, but one of them just said, I love you. That's
and
reason to cut it off with that woman.
One's also got a lot of, I won't speak. I can only speak for me because I know that this is the kind of crazy that Dustin likes, but I'd run away from both of them. That's all I'm saying.
I would prefer it if Dorothy didn't have a kid, but other than that, I'd be running to her.
Jesus Christ. All right, you guys ready for the ending? Because I am.
Yeah.
All right. After the party, the two are chased by Sandy's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, who the hell knows, like you guys mentioned. But Mike's pissed, and he's after him. He tries to fight Jeffrey, but a naked as a jaybird Dorothy emerges from, is that Jeffrey's house bushes? I don't know. Well, Mike and company leave to their intoxicated driving, and Sandy and Jeffrey take Dorothy to the Williams house to call an ambulance. There, Dorothy tells everybody about her and Jeffrey are fucking, and the ambulance pulls up. Sandy slaps the shit out of Jeffrey, and then at some point in the future, we randomly cut to Sandy telling Jeffrey over a phone call that she forgives him. This group here needs to go get tested for some STDs because avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugans. That's from A League of Their Own, Nico. Well, Sandy agrees to send the police to Dorothy's apartment, and Jeffrey tells her he's headed there right now. At the apartment, he finds Lieutenant Gordon, not Commissioner Gordon, just standing there, somehow, bloodied, and has some of his brain partially even exposed, but somehow, again, just standing there, lethargic and, dead. Don Valens having been shot in the head. He's over there, too. Jeffrey hears Gordon's radio chattering as an assault on Frank's apartment building takes place. He declares to literally himself out loud that he will let the police find Frank on their own, and he leaves the apartment. However, as he leaves the building, he sees the sharp dressed man from the stairwell and realizes that he is actually Frank in disguise. He quickly makes his way up to the apartment and takes Gordon's radio. He goes to the bedroom and speaks to Williams, forgetting that Frank also has a radio. So he says that he's in the bedroom, like a genius, and dashes to the closet. As Frank searches and shoots in the bedroom, Jeffrey quickly grabs Gordon's revolver and retreats back into the closet, waiting as Frank begins randomly firing around the apartment. When Frank finally opened the closet, Jeffrey fires a shot into his head, immediately killing him. Detective Williams and, for some reason, Sandy then arrive. We then get an ending that can only be really described as a fever dream, where some undisclosed amount of time later, on a bright and sunny day, Sandy calls Jeffrey in for lunch. On his way inside, Jeffrey observes Detective Williams speaking to his father, who has recovered substantially. When inside, Barbara points out to them a robin with a bug gripped in its beak. A dead one, by the way, I guess is what Dustin was talking about. We then see a fire truck pull up, and Dorothy is then happily reunited with her young son. It seriously reminds me of the Happy Gilmore dream sequence with Chubbs and his grandma and his girlfriend and the midget on the tricycle. But anyway, what did you guys think? What did you think there, Nico?
My first point ticked me off again. This green car had no business trying to pull out in that street. You know how pissed off. Look in your mirrors, please, people. These people act like they're Tallahassee drivers or something. It's Mike, Sandy's ex, who cut them off to fight. They stop in front of Jeffrey's house and find a naked and wounded Dorothy. Again, I have to ask, what the hell is going on right now? How did this lady walk all the way over there bruised and naked? All right. Dorothy continues to be butt naked for over a minute without anyone offering to get her any type of covering. Sandy is acting jealous of Jeffrey when they're not together, and she makes one of the ugliest crying faces I've ever seen. My God, did y'all notice that, or was it just me? Sandy must be really down bad for Jeffrey. She forgave that man with a quickness. Like, that sister's starving. Pretty gnarly deaths that Jeffrey arrives upon entering Dorothy's apartment. It took Jeffrey almost 2 hours of movie to mind his own business. To quote LeBron James, it's about damn time, or Lizzo, whoever you want to say, said about damn time. Go up the stairs faster, Goofy. Why are you so fucking slow, idiot? Like, this guy sees him and just walks up the stairs, nonchalant, stops and looks back. Oh, anywho, I thought it was smart of Jeff to use the radio to alert where he was before hiding, though. But I don't know if it was just me, but I laughed out loud at this yellow jacket guy falling over after getting shot. No noise, nothing, just fell over. I mean, he wasn't dead yet. Like, I thought that was hilarious. Laughed out loud again at Detective Williams' goofy-ass shooting pose entering the apartment. And this is the last thing I got. Sorry again to any Blue Velvet and David Lynch fans, but I thought this movie was awful, and I'm glad it's over.
God. Sucks to be on the wrong side of history, don't it,
Nico, the
Mike.
reason that
Mike.
Nico, hold on.
How
the reason
dare you?
Hold on. The reason that Sandy was allowed to get mad is because he just said he loved her. I think she's justifiably pissed at seeing this. Jealous.
Hey, all of the cheek clapping happened before they said I love you. None of that counted.
Okay.
And she was still crying over Mike. She was crying over Mike too.
I'm gonna let it slide. I hear you. I like how in one scene everyone's worlds collide, right? I mean, we get the tying together of every, side story and story that we have here. So I like that. Listen, I've defended Mike this whole movie. He rolls up like he was going to be big, bad, tough guy, and he didn't do shit. As soon as Naked Dorothy walked up, that was it. He ran away like a coward. Mike, man, you're giving us Mikes a bad name, man. You got your girl stolen from you, and then you didn't do anything about it. Come on, man. Have some respect. Anyway, I actually think Sandy with a rightful slap here, okay? Because, you just told me, love, you've been fooling around with both of us, and you just revealed that to yourself. However, you forgave him so quick. You have like the memory of a what's the thing with the short memory? Again, a goldfish? You got a goldfish memory, man. What are we doing? Not a ton of sympathy for her here in this situation because she was like, I forgive you. I love you. Good Lord. Anyway, have some respect. This scene back in the apartment, it took me a second to realize that was Dorothy's husband, but then the ear obviously is a dead giveaway. And like I said, this is a scene where Frank just yells fuck a bunch of times. So I am really curious to hear Dustin at the end with that fuck counter. I can't wait. Again, but Hopper's great here at the end until his last moments in the movie where he's shot in the middle of the head. I think he's phenomenal. Probably the bright spot or the brightest spot of the movie. And it's a clean shot by Jeffrey, by the way. Right? Normally movie characters that we watch on the show are terrible shots. Not him. Right between the eyes, like Ron White said back in the day where he hit a deer. That's all I had. I like the ending well enough. And I really like that they gave us a shot of Dorothy being happy in the park with her kids. I needed that for myself because she was very sad circumstance, bad victim, very mistreated. So I'm glad we got a happy ending, or as happy as it can be for her as well.
Yeah, tension off rip in this set of scenes. Suspicious car starts chasing and ramming them. Let's go. That's not Frank. It's just Sandy's scorned lover. So even better. And then Dorothy is at his house, bruised and battered and naked. This is shaping up to be a wilder finish than I expected. And I'm not sure if this is how it was intended to be interpreted. Nico, you asked, like, she walked all the way there naked. Like, maybe, just maybe, Frank dropped Dorothy off at Jeffrey's house to bait him into going to her apartment. Probably not, but maybe. And then Jeffrey's cover's blown. Sandy knows he's unfaithful. What a wild way to learn that your fella is unfaithful. Some people say it's the worst feeling in the world when people you care about let you down. But I'll tell you, the worst feeling in the world is your side chick and your main chick being together at the same time. Oof. And then it took way too long for anyone to offer her something to cover up with. It took way too long for anyone to offer her something to cover up with. It seems like the first thing they would do, oh, a naked lady's in my house, let me get you something to cover up with. Pretty weak slap from Sandy. She should have unloaded on him given the circumstances. But she barely touched him, and then she just forgave him that fast. This girl has self-worth issues. I really like how it was shot when Jeffrey got to Dorothy's apartment. Like, we don't see what he saw where cameras focus on him, but his reaction tells us and shows us that it's bad. And then we see a gruesome scene, such a tense ending. Him seeing that, the shootout at Frank's, I was on edge and just expecting the worst. And then the other guy, or the well-dressed man, shows up, and it's actually Frank wearing a comically bad wig and fake mustache. But why would Jeffrey go back to Dorothy's there? Like, there's more floors in that apartment. Like, you could have went down the hallway and just hid. You didn't have to run back into Dorothy's. That's where he's coming. He clearly knows that that's where what sharp-dressed man's going, so why would he go back there? And then how was Gordon standing like that the whole time? Like, yeah, he wasn't dead, but I don't know. He was like a statue. Funny thing about that is the actor that played Detective Gordon, he went through the McDonald's drive-thru after filming was completed, still with his brain matter prosthetics and blood all over him. And he freaked out the girl working the drive-thru window. That's funny. That's the kind of actor I would be. Then Jeffrey smokes Frank, and good prevails after all. Williams wasn't in on it after all, so what I said earlier about him asking who else knows about these pictures, that was completely unnecessary, just a way to make us think that there's a swerve, but just unnecessary. The movie honestly should have ended when they kissed in the hallway at Dorothy's apartment after Williams showed up, though. The rest was just unnecessary. Although it was nice seeing that Dorothy and her son got reunited, so maybe show us that and cut out the other stuff. Like, I don't need the Robin on the windowsill. I don't need to know that Jeffrey's dad got out of the hospital. I don't need to know that the families are like best of friends now. Don't need it. Anyway, I thought it was still a really good ending to a really good movie. Really good movie.
I took the ending as a prequel to Happy Gilmore. So that's what I took
Has
it
to
as.
be.
Yeah. I mean, even the
It has to
lighting
be.
is similar to Happy's dream sequences. Yeah, man.
Oh,
Main
fun-
chick, side chick. I don't even know how we have female listeners anymore. Oh my god.
funny thing about
Really
when
don't have very many.
when Jeffrey comes down the stairs and he's got the black eye and stuff, I almost put in my notes that he told his aunt that he took his skate off and tried to stab someone with it and he got in a fight. Like Happy Gilmore.
All right, let's jump into social media. There is nothing on the Book of Faces.
Nothing on X either.
We got one comment on the gram. Shout out to all of our lady listeners. We do have actually quite a bit of those. So
Yeah, we do.
I'm
just kidding.
I'm with you, Brian. I really don't
Somehow.
know how, but hey, we
We
appreciate
love
you.
you more than we love you the most. I promise. It's all out of love.
Yeah.
Dude,
Facts.
everything I say that's questionable, it's satire. Like, I'm
Yeah, of course.
a woman's advocate. So
That's right,
It's
me
all,
too.
if you can't tell,
I'm the
well,
I'm
if
the
you
bigger
can't tell
feminist in
that
my
I'm
house.
saying, just because you listen to Taylor Swift doesn't make you a feminist. But
Yes, it does.
everything I
Sure
say
as
is with
heck
tongue in
does.
cheek.
I get forced to listen, by the way, sometimes, and then I choose other times. Go ahead.
All right. Anywho, let's get masculine again. _clap commented on Instagram. The only comment we got. I'm so sorry, brother. I hope I didn't tick you off. Not only my favorite Lynch film, but one of my favorites ever. R.I.P. to one of the best to ever do it. Thanks for covering. Just don't take anything I said seriously.
Yeah, because it's.
I mean, come on,
it's because it's wrong anyway. Because this movie is really good.
you gotta have your. If you can't be truthful with your opinions, then it's basically us the first 3 episodes. So it's fine.
Y'all got any fun facts?
True. I'm just.
All right, let's get it because I've
There's
got quite a few.
There you go.
I said quite a few during the review, but I've got more. So Isabella Rossellini, was actually naked under her velvet robe when she did the, quote, ritualistic rape scene, a fact that her partner, Dennis Hopper, was not aware of until the camera started rolling and his co-star, Isabella, opened her legs for him to kneel between. The scene was the very first time the two of them ever worked together. That's wild.
Wow.
That's wild. The role of Jeffrey originally was offered to Val Kilmer, who turned it down, describing the script he read as, quote, pornography, although he says he would have done the version that finally made it to the big screen. So that makes me wonder, how bad was this movie before? Because, good Lord. Molly Ringwald, darling of the 80s, she was originally offered the role of Sandy, but her mother objected due to the graphic nature of the film. Here's the one that everyone's been waiting for. The F word is used 56 times in the movie. 55 of those are by Frank. One of them is Ben, who Frank told to say it. So that's funny. Willem Dafoe was considered to play the role of Frank. I love Willem, but Dennis Hopper crushed that part. I couldn't see anyone else playing it. Dorothy's character was inspired by Judy Garland's real life story, hence the name Dorothy. That's kind of scary and sad.
Yeah, it's sad. Very.
Only 2 more, bear with me. Earlier this month at the Oscars, Isabella Rossellini was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Conclave. Great movie. Go watch it. She was great in it. But she wore a blue velvet dress in memory of David Lynch. That's a very nice touch. Very nice nod.
That is.
And then last one I've got, Kyle MacLachlan was in Where the Day Takes You with David Arquette.
Oh, dang. I was hoping for a really, man, one day we'll get a
Easy.
long one again. Pause.
Whoa.
Okay, so the only little fun fact I had was that Blue Velvet has actually been recorded and released over 100 different times since its initial release in 1951, which covered by such people as Tony Bennett, Bobby Vinton, the version in this movie, Sammy Davis Jr., Jackie Gleason from The Honeymooners, Pal Riding the Kisser, Brenda Lee, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree Lady, Barry Manilow, which elite. Tony Bennett over and over again. And then obviously you mentioned the Lana Del Rey one. And then, of course, Isabella Rossellini also released a version. So there you go. Over 100 times in 8 different languages, including across spanning multiple genres. So that's crazy that you said it sucked because the song's a banger over and over again. Anyway, this movie
What's
was
funny
made.
about
Oh,
real
no,
quick,
go ahead.
what's funny about that? What's funny about your fun fact is when you said Sammy Davis Jr., I thought of one of my favorite comedies, Money Talks. When you go Sammy Davis Jr., that always comes to mind when I hear that. And then
He was a Satanist.
there was a lot of music in not only this movie, but a lot of David Lynch projects where he had a specific song in mind, but couldn't get the rights for it, or the studio wouldn't pay for the rights for it. So he had someone do a cover of it that was just different enough to where they could use it. So crafty.
So In Dreams by Roy Orbison was actually used. He used the Roy version because he found a loophole where he could get around it, because initially he was turned down by him, and then he didn't know that his own song was in the movie until about however many years later he went and saw it at a theater and liked it so much that he made a music video featuring scenes from the movie and shot and directed by David Lynch. So there you go. It all worked out in the end. Yeah, man. This movie was made for $6 million and grossed a budget of $8.6 million. So kind of a flop here at the box office, but the movie was hell getting made. I read a bunch of stuff about it this afternoon on the shitter, and it was every studio, major and minor, turned it down. He finally got someone to make the damn thing. Everyone reads their phone on the shitter. Relax. God. So sensitive these days.
Pardon me if I'm wrong. I can't remember if it was this or something else I was reading about, but I believe that the studio, the production company, they didn't do distribution, but they couldn't find anyone to distribute it, so they became a distributor as well to help with this movie get out, which is cool.
Also, I don't know which movie it was, but the one before this flopped for David Lynch, so like he was kind of persona non grata at the time as it was. So I don't know which one that was.
He was kind of doomed if he does, doomed if he doesn't, huh? Because he made Dune. Go ahead.
Nice.
Never seen it.
Boring as fuck.
The new Dune was. I told Nico I tried to watch it 3 times and fell asleep. I've still never finished it.
Have you watched the old one? That's way worse.
No. If I couldn't stay awake,
it's terrible.
if I couldn't stay awake during the 2022 version, you think I'm gonna try to watch the 84 version or whatever year it was? No.
Probably because David Lynch made it.
That's true. I need to go back and watch it.
Hey, we guys, we got to bring the show back around. We're on this lost highway right now. Come on, everybody.
All right, let's Mulholland Drive right into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating.
There you go.
I mean, this show's had its ups and downs, but it had some Twin Peaks that were great.
Which is
yeah. Let's Eraserhead our way back into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating. All right, Dustin, kick us off so you can jot our scores down.
All right, favorite kill, Frank. The ending was very tense and suspenseful, and I'm glad he got what he deserved. And the effects didn't look half bad either. Like, we don't get a great look at it, but the brain matter flying out of his head and then the brief shot we get of him on the floor looked pretty good. Least favorite kill was Gordon, because how was he standing like that for so long? As far as my final thoughts and the rating, I think it's a fantastic movie. It kept me engaged. And when he wasn't committing sexual assault, Frank had some hilarious dialogue. Like I laughed basically every time he talked. I thought some of the scene transitions were questionable choices, though, and some other things that I mentioned. But other than that, it's really good. This movie, did a good job had a dark story. It did a good job of showing how crime and evil is prevalent in all communities, not just the big cities like we see so much. So it's showing that it's seeping into the suburbs. Dennis Hopper and Isabella Rossellini were great. Kyle MacLachlan and Laura Dern were fine. The soundtrack is incredible. There's a lot to like about this movie. R.I.P. David Lynch. I gave it a 9.
Let me just go ahead and go so I can get mine out of the way. All right, I agree with you, Dustin, on the favorite and least favorite kills, but I really don't have much that I liked about the movie outside of a few shots. I feel like the movie tried to be a thriller, tried to be a romance, tried to be all kind of different things, and none of it worked for me. I'm not a big fan at all. R.I.P. to David Lynch. I'm not giving up on him. I do want to watch Mulholland Drive. My first impressions of David Lynch was from friend of the show who we interviewed a while back. Horrible reviews. Like he, covered Eraserhead, talked about how odd that movie was. It looks interesting. I don't think I'll like it, but I'll give it a shot. But I do want to give his other movies a shot someday. But I did not like Blue Velvet. I gave it a 1.5.
Oh my God.
All right, let me go so we can end on a high note there, Mike, because I'm sure you're going. But my favorite kill. Listen, I'm a big fan of the yellow suit dude with the brain hanging out kill, even though he was just like Beetlejuice from Howard Stern, just hanging around. And least favorite kill though is the bug being eaten by the dead bird, because what the fuck was going on there? But anyway, I had no idea what to rate this movie nor why. I just know that I didn't really like it. I rated it a 3.
Oh my God.
Oof. Okay. All right. This is something. Okay. I had the same least favorite and favorite kills as Dustin there. I was happy to see Frank die, so that was nice. And also, it was a cool shot, like the actual gunshot going through his head. I thought it was a really nice shot. So I like this movie, and I can't, I'm like the opposite of Brian. I'm Brian's Wario, where I don't know why I like this movie, but I do. I'm like it's like he's saying the exact same thing as me. He just had a different take. Where there's a lot to dislike that I would normally do, but for some reason, the story kept my interest. I really liked the creepy factor, honestly. And you could tell that it was going for something that was ahead of its time. These kinds of thrillers are a dime a dozen now. But back then, especially with that psychosexual aspect of it, very creepy, very well done. I think the movie is well made. It looks great for its time, especially. And I think it's really, really good stuff. I think some of the writing, is not great, which we've pointed out here. The dialogue is so-so, but I'm willing to forgive it because I think the story is really strong and David Hopper is great. So again, I liked it. I don't know why I liked it. I just tried to ramble off a bunch of reasons why I did, but I don't know if that made any sense. I enjoyed it, had a good time, even though I don't know if I was supposed to. I give it a 7.5.
Okay, that's better. So that gives us a composite score of a 5.25. We'll just move on from that. Internet Movie Database has it at a 7.7. Letterboxd has it at a 4.1. Yeah. Okay. Letterboxd has a 4.1. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 91%. They know ball. But speaking of scores, this is something I found very interesting. So Siskel and Ebert, everybody knows Siskel and Ebert. They were partners for. Well, okay, they were partners for 24 years. They were miles apart on their opinions on this movie. Gene Siskel gave the movie an 88 and called it masterful, quote, while Roger Ebert gave it a 25 and said it was so audacious people didn't know quite what to make of it. So that was weird for them to be so far apart.
Sounds like this show. There you go. Honestly, they had the same thoughts that we did. So there you go.
God help us if we're partners for 24 years doing this. I don't think I got 24 years left. I don't think I got 24 years left in the tank.
Be dead.
We'll all be dead by then, brother.
I hope not. I'm only going to be 57. Hell.
We're hanging it up. Hanging it up, brother.
Oh, yeah. Y'all talking about being dead, though. If we're done in 24 years, that's fine, but I don't want to be dead.
I'm done with life. I mean, we're hanging it up.
Your kid is right beside you.
Are you your boss at this podcast?
She'll be old enough to date. I want to kill myself anyway.
You expect me to make it to 60 years old?
She's old enough to date. She'll be 30 or whatever. I think you're going to be fine.
Exactly.
All right, hey, let's shout out our blood donors. I don't know what's going on right now. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you to all of our blood donors. Y'all take a huge burden off of us sincerely. Make this a lot easier for us. Camper Level Reoccurring, Nina, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Michelle Mirza, Chris Manley, and Steve Schmidt. Camp Counselor Reoccurring, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Adrian Aiello, Brian Samick, Andrew Ferguson, Brooke Maley, Heather Superduck, Jennifer Davis Me Too Close to Home Pod, Dana Tucker, Cole McAlexander, Max K, Madison Arzola, and Kay Smith. it's kind of cool that we have 18 people who support us monthly, help us pay the bills. That's super
Absolutely.
nice. We appreciate
Fantastic.
y'all. Dustin, hell of a pick. Mike, you want to announce your pick
Thanks.
as we conclude Thriller Month? Thriller!
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The movie that I picked was literally the reason I chose the month theme. You know, I told y'all, hey, I was watching this movie, and I said, man, I kind of want to review this, but it wouldn't really fit in any normal horror box that I could think of, because it's a horrifying premise, but it's not a horror movie per se. So I was like, fuck it, we ball up top, we're doing thrillers. And so I was able to squeeze this movie in. I went with A Mother's Instinct, which is a 2024 movie, Nico. So shout out to the year 2024, where movies were made only
It's also
I guess.
it's also neon.
I said it's a neon movie as well. So there you go. Lots of good things going for it. It also has Jessica Chastain and Hathaway, and they're both great in that movie. Can't fucking wait. I don't know if any of you guys have watched it yet, but I think
I
it'll be. I think we may be in the tag team match. I don't know. We'll see. I'm very curious. But I'm excited. That's the reason we got Thriller Month. It's this movie. So high hopes that everybody likes it. And if not, go fuck yourselves.
Why did I get slandered for
Nice.
2024 movies? Like, I've only picked one all year. I picked two other non-2024 movies.
You picked 2024 month.
You picked
And then 2024 bonus
Yes,
ranking.
twice.
2024
I mean,
We had to
you-
do the best movies of 2024. Then we had to do an award show based around 2024 too, brother.
And we're making content that pops off with the people.
Hey, am I announcing my birthday bonus?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. I forgot it. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah,
Birthday
we're
bonus.
Also, yeah, next week's my birthday on Wednesday. We're not recording on Wednesday because I have to go do stuff, I guess. We are doing horror hot takes, which,
Oh,
by the way, I just ripped.
whew. I can't
I
wait.
just ripped everybody else's, like every other horror channel's idea, because they've all done it. So I was like, fuck, we haven't actually compiled our list of like what would be unpopular to the normal horror fans, which apparently what Nico and Brian just gave this movie could be considered a horror hot take. So I'm excited because that episode could be 10 minutes long, could be an hour. Who knows? Let's find out.
Yeah. Anywho, we'll be back next week.
Oh my God. Taylor Swift's a clone of a Satanist.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, take care of yourself.
Just want to remind everybody